Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to a short press statement by High Representative Vice President of the European Commission, Josep Borrell, after the emergency high-level meeting he was hosting since the morning with Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić and Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti. High Representative will summarize the meeting and its outcomes, and then we will take no questions. High Representative, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Today, since 8 o'clock in the morning, it means 8 hours of meetings. I hosted Prime Minister Albin Kurti of Kosovo and President Aleksandar Vučić of Serbia for an emergency meeting here in Brussels. Both of them attended this meeting, coming to Brussels. And it was important that they did, because we find ourselves yet again in another crisis situation. And this happens only 3 months after the last crisis meeting, from crisis to crisis. And this time it is even worse than in August, when I had to come to Brussels in the middle of August to avoid the previous crisis. Since August, the dispute over license plates has worsened. Kosovo had decided to start issuing fines from the 22nd of November, it means midnight tonight, for those who have not re-registered their vehicles. As a consequence, Kosovo Serbs have withdrawn from the institutions of North Kosovo. And it means that around 600 police officers have put down their uniforms. Judges and staff of the local administration have also resigned. And currently, less than 50 Kosovo Albanian police officers are manning the police station in the region, which is certainly not enough. This leaves a very much dangerous security vacuum. A vacuum on the ground and in already a very fragile situation. Yes, we have a mission there, we have the EULEX mission, and also the troops of KFOR are present. But they cannot take over the role of the local police. It's not on their mandate, nor on their capacities. Rule of law must not serve as a pretext for tensions and escalations. While not respecting important and binding obligations agreed many years ago under the dialogue. Under the dialogue being conducted by the European Union and by my predecessor's High Representative. The European Union, our international partners, have repeatedly called for de-escalation, to not avail. And this meeting today was about the responsibility of leaders to urgently de-escalate the situation, to ensure that peace and stability is reestablished and, most importantly, will prevail, avoiding a crisis of very grave consequences. Since last summer, we have been preoccupied with permanent crisis management, trying to avoid one artificial deadline after another, from deadline to deadline, from crisis to crisis. And this means that we haven't been able to address the real issue of the normalization of relations, which would resolve and prevent such crisis situations, as the root causes go way beyond license plates. I made it very clear to both parties that we cannot continue like this, that this vicious circle of crisis and deadlines must stop. Both President Vučić and Prime Minister Kurti are elected leaders with a strong mandate, and we expect them to show leadership and will to resolve their disputes and taking the normalization of relations forward so that they can advance on their respective European paths. But after many hours of discussion, from 8 o'clock this morning, the two parties did not agree to a solution today. I think that there is an important responsibility for the failure of the talks today and for any escalation and violence that might occur on the ground on the following days. And for the sake of transparency, I have to say that we put forward a proposal that could have avoided this risky situation that President Vučić accepted today, but unhappily Prime Minister Kurti did not. To avoid escalation, I am going to make a pledge. I would have liked it to be an agreement. Once it's not an agreement, let me ask solemnly to both parts. First, I now expect Kosovo to immediately suspend further stages related to the re-registration of vehicles in North Kosovo. I repeat, I now expect Kosovo to immediately suspend further stages related to the re-registration of vehicles in North Kosovo. And Serbia to suspend issuing new licenses plates with Kosovo cities denomination, including KM plates. This was a proposal that we almost reached, but since it was not possible for many different reasons, I want to stress that I am calling both parties to implement these two requests. This would allow space and time for the parties to look for a sustainable solution to the licenses plate issue in the context of the normalization of relations, which is our most important objective. In the meantime, lack of agreement today also means that we have to draw our conclusions about how this process of negotiation is being conducted. I will inform member states, will inform my colleagues, foreign affairs ministers, and our partners about the behavior of the different parties and the lack of respect for international legal obligations. And I have to say this goes particularly for Kosovo. I know this sends a very negative political signal. In closing, I made it very clear to both leaders that if the European Union accession is their ultimate objective, one to which they have both committed, we expect them to act accordingly with that. From my side, I will keep the dialogue very high on my agenda, with the support of the European Union Special Representative Miroslav Lajcak. And I want to praise him for his work, for his patience, for his strong commitment. By the proposal that together we have tabled, that received a strong support from France and Germany, and I still think is the possible way out of this crisis, with the perspective of normalization and full fulfillment of any engagement, commitment, and agreements. I hope that both parties will fulfill according with my request in order to avoid a further escalation and a new dangerous crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the statement to the press.